Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, and finally, if you are NA, and probably by the time you watch this video on EU, the raids, the Mythic Plus season, and the PvP season has finally begun. We can finally get into some of the endgame content of World of Warcraft with the Mythic race starting next week. So it's going to be even more excitement next week. With this Tuesday, we were expecting some nerfs to classes and maybe even adjustments for things. So this video is mostly going to cover some of the other updates we've had, but also primarily focus on any class changes that have happened with this Tuesday. Most likely there's going to be class changes by the time we hit middle of the week, and maybe by next week after the first week of Heroic, since Blizzard generally likes to do buffs and nerfs after getting some valuable data from inside of raids, dungeons, as well as PvP. So let's take a look at some of the updates that we've had this week, and I think you'll be excited if you're someone who's not a huge fan of one-shots. Let's first take a look at the class changes. How have classes been affected with this update? Well, it looks like for the PvE side of the game, things are looking pretty calm at the very beginning. It looks like hunters are no longer going to be able to have wild spirits double dip into their mastery. Instead, the ability itself is going to be buffed, so it does fair amount of damage for marksman. It still will have aspects, I think, of your mastery that works with it, but it no longer will do this double dip because that would have completely ruined the scaling. I don't think this will make Wild Spirits as an ability any much worse. I think the buff to Wild Spirits is just to keep it relevant, and the damage that it's been doing right now I think is what Blizzard wants it to be. They just don't want it to become an issue going down the line. So any marksmanship hunters that have picked Night Fae, I don't think this should severely affect your performance. Then we have monks, who have been in the beta and in the alpha one of the buggiest classes to ever exist in the game. Mostly because that every single week there seemed to be another bug or a old bug that popped back up into their playstyle that kind of messed things up. I think Blizzard fixed most of the bugs with monks. There might be some, hopefully not too game breaking, that still exists, and it was just one of those things where this class in particular, which is the most buggiest out of all of them back during testing, and it looks like they're just fixing more bugs with the spec and class. I do expect for Blizzard to continue fixing any issues with monks going forward, so if there are issues, be sure to report them immediately. With more people playing the game, since it's not just alpha and beta where only some people can play but everybody can play now, the faster we get this reported, the better. Lastly, there was a small adjustment with mind games and a small adjustment with Shadowy Duel, which actually could be big in some situations. I have watched rogues in duels pop Shadowy Duel and then walk away from the enemy without getting tagged, so it looked like the invisibility thing that kind of sprung itself back in BFA seems to be coming back, so hopefully that has gotten fixed. But on the PvE side of things, going into the dungeons and in raids, nobody really got nerfed. Again, maybe next week we'll see some issues with it, but so far nobody really got tagged down. We'll see how the next week goes. However, for PvP, we have had some significant changes. First of all, PvP season is here, and conquest weapons are no longer on a achievement category, so go ahead and buy those conquest weapons as soon as you have enough conquest, if that is so you choose. But we've had some pretty major changes to player versus player. First of all, Ashran is going to have more players, and if you get killed by a player in the maw, you don't drop extra Stygia, and certain trinkets now will have visuals and sounds properly playing. But hunters, paladins, and rogues have also got tagged quite a bit. Hunters are known for their one-shot, double-tap, aim-shot, wombo combo, especially as a Kyrian. And we've seen that combo play out in duels plenty of times. So aim-shot no longer deals 10% increased damage in PvP. Since aim-shot and marksman feel a lot better on damage, they don't need that extra 10% dam. But also, particularly with double-tap going aim-shot playstyle, it deals 50% reduced damage in PvP in all PvP situations. So this should hopefully fix the one-shot capability of our marksman hunter out of a Kama. I think it will still give hunters opportunity to do some big damage inside of team compositions like 2v2s and 3v3s, but I think they wanted to take out that global potential that the spec could do in basically a single global of aim shot out of stealth, where you can't see it or expect it. Paladins with Ringing Clarity for Kyrian is the only one that's really been much of a wombo combo. Basically, with the ability of the Kyrian Divine Toll, what it could do with the Conduit is that allowed Divine Toll to throw extra judgments, percent chance to drop extra judgments onto a single target. So with Ringing Clarity Conduit, you would throw Divine Toll, and sometimes you would have, instead of one judgment, fly to your primary target instead of like 3. So that's a lot of judgments into a single target. That gave Paladins quite a bit of burst, because there's honor talents that work off of judgments as well. So Ring and Clarity can now only trigger 2 extra multicasts if it drops for PvP. This is still viable for PvE. So only 2 extra hammers will fly, and Divine Toll will deal less damage in PvP situations. So even if the hammers do get a proc, it will be quite a bit of burst, but not really that global one-shot that we've seen in the past. Final Reckoning is also getting a nerf in PvP, where Holy Power abilities will do 30% more damage, only 30, which is quite a bit actually. 20% damage lost from that ability might get Paladins to play other talents in a row, but we've seen a lot of Paladins playing Final Reckoning, and it must have been super lucrative. Then we also have Rogues with Reverberation for the Echo and Reprimand, reducing the damage by 30% only when you are using the Conduit. So they're not nerfing Echo and Reprimand, but they are nerfing its damage if you are using the ability of Reverberations. So it still makes it viable for any PvE single target capability, but for the sub-rogues that went with 100% crit Lego, Echo and Reprimand with the Reverberation Conduit just did way too much damage. So it's interesting that Blizzard decided to tackle subtlety rogues, because, I mean, we've seen Outlaw, we've seen Assassination rogues use this ability too, but it's mostly been used for subtlety. And they're not nerfing the 100% crit Lego, but rather nerfing a particular combo that sub-rogues had in the one-shots, which is interesting. Another bit of information we can talk about is with the changes that the raid is going to be available, Blizzard decided to make a change to the raid legendaries. We don't want to be farming those legendaries on normal, heroic, and the mythic just to have ourselves a low chance to drop it. Instead, Blizzard made it all those raid Legos 100% drop when you kill certain bosses, which makes it that much easier for you all to catch up and that much easier for your mains to get the best slot Legos you need. So be sure to check out the loot tables from the raid to see what legendaries drop for your class, and if any of them are best in slot, slaying the boss on normal, heroic, mythic, which is next week, or LFR, which starts in Wings next week, is going to guarantee you your legendary. Finally, we got one last bit of update for older trinkets. Anything that's an older trinket from a previous expansion has gotten heavily nerfed. That means Raidens segment of Dressagath might see a lot less play in arenas, and a variety of other trinkets from BFA have also been nerfed, which I think is going to be a good thing going forward. I always felt like it was a little bit weird to, I guess for a little bit, the old content, old gear is going to be pretty good if you were someone, let's say, who was geared head to toe in full mythic gear from previous raid. But eventually you would want that gear to be rotated out. You've already played with Dressagaths and bikes in arenas, and I'm pretty sure we don't want to see it again. And we would rather see other trinkets or other classes or other combos rather than the same old. And all those classes that I talked about that had a 100% big burst combo together with a segment of Dressagath that was still viable, yeah, that would have been a really strong combo where you had to kind of go and do a raid from an older dungeon in our raid to do better in PvP for Nuke expansion. I think that'll be a whole form of BFA that no one expected. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video. This has been everything available with this week's update. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on all the changes, and I'll see all of you guys in another video.